Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno, hello. Good to see you.
Thank you for having us today.
As some of you may know, Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno would like to remove the lieutenant from there, and she is narrowing in the polls. You're making progress.
Yes.
You counted before how many days to go. What's the number from here?
I was told 26 days left to go.
Okay, not 26 weeks.
Well, people can vote now.
Oh, that's right.
Right. You could vote by mail-in ballot right now. But 26 days from today is November 7th, I'm told. And that's Election Day in New Jersey.
Assuming you win, I have some advice for you.
Yes.
The first time I saw you...
I've not had any advice.
Now is the time. Listen very carefully. This is important advice. The first time I saw you, you were coming to the Randolph DMV a couple of years ago to talk about the dangers of texting and driving.
True.
And there was a wrecked car out there that was placed for the reporters to see. And it was a very compelling presentation. I must say,
there was a family there.
It was awful.
Right.
It was really awful.
Nikki's Law, I believe.
Yes.
Yep.
And we were waiting there for you to show up. It felt like it was about 20 below that day.
I think it was.
It was very cold. And you pulled up in your vehicle, your state-issued vehicle, and you came starting out and stood there and made an impassioned plea about not texting and driving, and you didn't wear a coat. So if you read the history books, William Henry Harrison, I believe, is the one who gave the inaugural address and wasn't around much longer. So if you win, wear a coat, is my advice to you.
Will do.
How do you get there?
How do you get there?
How do you get to winning at this point?
You have the right message. You have the right message. And the message in New Jersey, and I believe you're from New Jersey, the message is lower property taxes. I'm pledged to lower property taxes or not run again. My opponent has promised that he will raise your taxes in New Jersey.
Well, lower property taxes, as you're right, I am from Jersey. It's always been the issue.
Right.
I mean, because we have either the worst or second to worst, depending on what year it is, property taxes in the nation, and it's not something we're terribly proud of or we enjoy paying. But I think we're sort of becoming numb to it. Is that issue gaining traction for you?
It's getting, that's why I think we cut the polls in half. But I think we were at 25, now we're down to 11, and my internal polls show we're at 7, and that was a couple of weeks ago, because we have the right message, and the right message is people are tired of paying high property taxes. And if you're going to run for office, and the #1 problem on your constituents' minds are higher property taxes, then you should address higher property taxes. So my plan is to, on average, lower property taxes by $800 a household in New Jersey. My opponent's plan is he has no plan. You should just make more money. That's his plan.
Well, he is counting on the economy taking off and paying for his ambitious goals. But when it comes to property taxes, you know, you'll forgive the average New Jerseyan if they're skeptical of political promises on property taxes. For example, you know, we had I'm not even sure which governor it was. It might have been Byrne who gave us the rebate checks. Maybe it was Kane. I've lost track. And we counted on those rebate checks, which magically arrived in the mail right before Election Day. It was amazing how that worked.
What a coincidence that was.
And now they've gone away under Governor Chris Christie.
Well, they haven't gone away. What they've done is instead of sending them to you right before November, right before Election Day, at a cost of roughly $20 million to the taxpayers, just in terms of processing the checks, you can now take them off your tax returns. So that's why they, in the sense, I suppose, you're right, they went away, but there's still a property tax rebate.
For very few people.
For the people who need it the most. And we also have a 2% cap on property taxes, and we also have that very hotly debated arbitration clause that puts a cap on the pressure that we feel in terms of rising property taxes. Unfortunately for the people of New Jersey, my opponent has refused to say whether he would keep the 2% cap and whether he would eliminate this arbitration cap that has kept property taxes low, not lower, but low. So over the last 8 years, our property taxes, instead of going up the 7% you'd seen over the last couple of governors, and we'll be bipartisan about it, the 2% cap has kept the rising property tax bill from rising as high as it otherwise would. Phil Murphy, on the other hand, has said, I'm not going to give you an answer on whether I would continue the arbitration clause. That's what's kept the property taxes lower. I've basically said I'd keep it in place. And I even go one step better, and those people that are most likely to leave New Jersey are senior citizens. Once their kids get out of high school, they're on the, one foot out the door and the other one on a bar of soap. They can't afford to live here. Or the people living paycheck to paycheck if they lose a paycheck. Or the millennials who's want to get out of the house but can't because property taxes continuously go up. My plan would guarantee a flat rate for those people.
Well, you talk about people needing to leave the state because it gets so expensive to live in New Jersey after a while, and now you have the President of the United States, who happens to be the leader of the Republican Party, talking about not allowing the deductions for property taxes. And in New Jersey, you get killed doing that. You'd have to leave. What's your position on that?
I'm very concerned about that, of course, but the president has to consider everything nationally. I'm considering what happens to New Jerseyans, so working very closely already with our congressional delegation to make sure that the Congress understands what will happen if we lose that deduction, and make sure that all parties understand what will happen in New Jersey if we lose that deduction. And you know what? That's one of the reasons why I think we should be talking about property taxes. We need to make New Jersey more affordable. We need to lower property taxes in this state. I have a plan. My opponent's plan is for you just to make more money. I think that's completely unrealistic. And dodging the key problem that people in New Jersey face.
You also mentioned at one point recently that Phil Murphy was looking to privatize our interstate highways. He said that he never said that. You know what
he did say? There was a report published by former Governor Florio, who, as you may recall, is notorious for having the highest tax increase in history. Last couple weeks ago, issued a report where he recommended putting tolls on toll roads like 280, 78, 287.
On the free roads, right.
And 295 on the freeways, on the ones that don't have tolls already.
Yep.
He wants to put tolls up. He wants to increase fees at the MVC, and he wanted to privatize the turnpike. And Phil Murphy's campaign staff said he greatly welcomed the report. I have yet to hear him say and promise that he will not put tolls on the toll roads, that he will not increase fees at the MVC, and that he will not privatize the toll roads. All we have on record is his staff saying he greatly welcomed the report. Now, to me, if you're running for governor, you need to be very clear about what your positions are. You can't dodge, especially in New Jersey. New Jerseyans have a right to know how you're going to raise taxes and where you're going to raise taxes. And if you're going to raise taxes in those three areas, you're hurting the middle class and the working class in New Jersey, and they just can't afford it anymore.
At the debate a couple of nights ago, the issue of Harvey Weinstein came up. And if I'm correct, I believe you called Phil Murphy a coward, was the word you used.
Yes.
And he came back and said, wait a minute, yeah, I was the finance guy for the Democratic, was it
he was the finance chairman for the DNC.
Democratic National Committee.
Right, he raised
from 2006 to 2009, prior to the donations, serious donations that were made.
No, Yes, he was. He raised $300 million for President Obama. He became the ambassador to Germany as a result. But my concern was that he had a private meeting with Harvey Weinstein just this past August to have a fundraiser for Phil Murphy's campaign in this gubernatorial election, which was scheduled, and had my campaign not issued a press release calling him out on that, we would never have heard about it. It was 5 days after the Harvey Weinstein allegations came to light about his abuse, quite frankly, of his position of power when it came to women, and which is completely unacceptable on every level, no matter what industry you're in, whether me as a former federal prosecutor or a state prosecutor or a lawyer for 35 years, abusing your position of power is totally unacceptable and should be condemned on every level. Phil Murphy didn't come out and condemn it until 5 days after the allegations came forward, and until after my campaign said, you had a private meeting with Harvey Weinstein, you have an event set up with Harvey Weinstein to raise money, you need to stop it. And for a man who's pretending to represent women in New Jersey, I think that behavior is cowardly.
So when he responded to you, I don't know what you're talking about, you believe he knew what you were talking about?
Well, go read the New York Post from August of this summer, and it's very clear. And he did say, while he said he didn't know what he was talking about, he then, like 2 seconds later, said, "Oh, I'm canceling my fundraiser with Harvey Weinstein."
He did. And then he went after you for taking money from the National Rifle Association.
Yeah, I haven't taken any money from the NRA. My elect forms are very clear.
And none of the organizations that are raising money for you are
I wish,
any?
no, I think my record, all my contributions are a matter of public record, so no.
And you say that New Jersey's tough gun laws are tough enough.
Right, we have the third most restrictive gun laws in the country. Do you know that you have to get a BB gun, a permit to get a BB gun in New Jersey? That's how tough it is. And sometimes when you use a slingshot in commission of certain offenses, you could be prosecuted for that. Those are pretty tough and strict gun laws. I know it's in connection with what happened in Nevada. And what happened in Nevada was heinous on every level. But in terms of changing the gun laws in New Jersey, we don't need to change the gun laws in New Jersey. We need to enforce the gun laws in New Jersey. We need to enhance the penalties so that people don't feel like they can illegally use guns here and get away with it. We need to perhaps enhance background checks, mental health background checks. But I do not believe we need more laws. I think we need more enforcement and more serious penalties. And in the case of something heinous like what happened in Nevada, we should look at the death penalty. I'm a former federal prosecutor, former state prosecutor, former sheriff. Nobody can keep New Jersey more safe than I can. I know what it takes to do that, and it takes stiffer penalties and more enforcement.
And before we let you go, this could be regarded as a self-serving question since we hold a broadcast license, but President Trump said yesterday that he believes that the government should challenge the license of news organizations that report, as he would put it, fake news. What's your position on that?
You know, what the president says and tweets, I can't control. I'm not familiar with what he's talking about, but as the daughter of a broadcaster, I think we all have a First Amendment right.
Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.